Her name is Lakira DeJour Goldsmith. She was 20 years old, a mother, a daughter, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Montgomery, Alabama, and in late November of 2018, everything changed. That day, Lakira spent time with her boyfriend. According to reports, he picked her up from her home on Narrow Lane Road. Later that evening, he dropped her back off at her apartment complex. Her grandmother witnessed Lakira getting out of the vehicle and waited for her to come inside, but she never did. That was one of the last times her family saw her. As her loved ones searched for answers, they learned a maintenance worker at the apartment complex had reportedly allowed Lakira to use his phone. According to reports, she was seen around 2 o'clock in the morning talking on that phone. The maintenance worker later stated that when he checked on her again, she was gone. The phone had been left behind. And after that, Lakira vanished. She never came home. She never contacted her family again, and no one has publicly reported seeing her since. The people who love Lakira immediately knew something was wrong because she was the mother of a young son, a little boy who was only a toddler when she disappeared. Her family says she would never willingly leave her child behind, never without calling, never without letting someone know she was safe. Lakira also suffered from severe asthma, a condition that had required hospitalization in the past. And according to reports, she left without her medication. That made her disappearance even more alarming because the people who knew her best understood how important that medication was. Her mother described her as friendly, caring, and the kind of person who could light up a room. Someone who always tried to help others, even when she was struggling herself. Lakira was described as 5'5", around 155 pounds, with brown eyes and dark hair. At the time she disappeared, she was wearing blonde hair extensions with dark roots. She had multiple piercings, including her ears, her lower lip, and a snake eye tongue piercing. The night she disappeared, she was wearing a velvet knee-length dress, a silver rhinestone choker necklace, a silver lip ring, and silver rhinestone earrings. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. Years have passed, and still there are no answers. No confirmed sightings, no arrest, no closure for the people who love her. Her mother believes someone knows what happened, and she continues to fight to keep her daughter's name alive because they know Lakira did not simply disappear. Lakira deserved to be safe. She deserved to raise her son. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Lakira DeJour Goldsmith. Share her story, and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Sharonda Shante Sims. She was 40 years old. A daughter, a mother, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Newberry County, South Carolina. And on September 17th, 2019, everything changed. That morning, around 3 a.m., residents near Drayton Street and Hollyberry Lane were awakened by the sound of gunshots. When the gunfire stopped, neighbors looked outside, and what they found was devastating. Sharonda was lying in a ditch, unresponsive, suffering from gunshot wounds. First responders arrived within minutes, but it was already too late. Sharonda was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators later confirmed her death was a homicide. Authorities said multiple shell casings were recovered from the scene, and reports state Sharonda had been shot at least twice. Detectives believe people in the community know what happened that night, but years later, no one has been arrested. Investigators said surveillance footage captured flashes from the gunfire and outlines of people nearby, but the footage has not been clear enough to identify a suspect. Sheriff Lee Foster later stated that several drive-by shootings had happened in the area around that time, and investigators believe Sharonda's murder may be connected to those incidents. Her mother, Martha Sims, has spent years begging for answers, praying someone will finally come forward. She says she still wakes up at the exact time her daughter was murdered, still relives the moment investigators came to her door, still carries that pain every single day. Sharonda was known as Rhonda to the people who loved her. Her family described her as loving, kind, and deeply loved by those around her. Just 1 week after her death, her grandchild was born, a heartbreaking reminder of everything stolen from her family. Sharonda was described as 5'6", with black hair and brown eyes. At the time of her death, she was wearing a black shirt, blue jean shorts, tennis shoes, and a red scarf. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. Years have passed, and still, there are no answers, no arrests, no justice, no closure for the people who love her. Her family is still waiting, still grieving, still hoping someone will finally tell the truth, because they know Sharonda did not deserve what happened to her. She deserved safety. She deserved peace. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Sharonda Shante Sims. Share her story, and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Tamikra Sandrea Rogers. She was 24 years old. A daughter, a loved one, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in East Point, Georgia. And on July 22nd, 1999, everything changed. That morning, Tamikra left her home on Blunt Street. According to her mother, she left around 5:30 a.m., headed to the bus stop on her way to work. It was supposed to be a normal work day, a routine morning. But Tamikra never arrived at her job. And after that morning, no one ever heard from her again. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw her. She never came home. She never contacted her family again. And after leaving for work that morning, she vanished. Very few details about her disappearance have ever been released publicly. No confirmed suspects, no explanation for what happened after she left home, and no answers for the people who love her. Tamikra was described as 5'11", between 180 and 190 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She had 2 freckles above her right eye, 1 dark freckle below her left eye, and one of her upper front teeth had a gold cap. Both of her ears were pierced. The morning she disappeared, she was wearing a white shirt, navy blue pants, size 10.5 work boots, a ring with a purple stone, and a watch on her left wrist. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her her. And then she disappeared without a trace. More than 2 decades have passed, and still there are no answers. No confirmed sightings, no arrests, no closure for the people who love her. Her family is still left wondering, what happened between her front door and that bus stop? Who saw her that morning? And why has no one come forward? Because they know Tamikra did not simply disappear. Tamikra deserved to be safe. She deserved to come home. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Tamikra Sandrea Rogers. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Jordan Antoinette Kirkendall. She was 30 years old. A mother, a daughter, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Kentucky. And on February 9th, 2022, everything changed. That day, Jordan was last seen in Louisville, Kentucky. According to reports, she disappeared under suspicious circumstances. And after that, she was gone. She never contacted her loved ones again. She never came home. And the people who knew her best immediately knew something was wrong. Because Jordan was a mother, and according to her family, she would never willingly abandon her children. Days passed, then weeks, and still there were no answers, no confirmed sightings, no explanation for where she went, no closure for the people who love her. Investigators later stated that her disappearance was being treated as suspicious. But despite the investigation, very little information has been publicly released. Just a young woman, gone without explanation. Jordan was described as 5'6", around 140 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her her. Her family continues to search for answers, continues to speak her name, continues to hope someone will come forward with information, because they know Jordan did not simply disappear. Jordan deserved to be safe. She deserved to raise her children. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Jordan Antoinette Kirkendall. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Marcy Tokisha Peterson. She was 28 years old, a mother, a daughter, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Georgia. And on October 30th, 2003, everything changed. At the time of her disappearance, Marcy was staying at an extended stay motel in Marietta, Georgia, the Studio Plus Motel near Cumberland Parkway. She had been living there with her estranged husband, and the two were reportedly trying to reconcile their marriage. Before that, Marcy had been trying to rebuild her life. She had completed real estate training and dreamed of starting her own business. But according to reports, legal troubles had caused her mortgage business to collapse. Still, her sister later said Marcy seemed hopeful, like she was trying to get back on her feet. On the morning of October 30th, Marcy was last seen around 11 a.m. near the motel. And after that, she vanished. She has never been seen or heard from again. As investigators searched for answers, they uncovered several troubling details about the people in Marcy's life. According to reports, Marcy had borrowed $30,000 from a man, and she later told her mother that the man chased her with a vehicle and threatened to kill her. Investigators also discovered that another man helping pay for Marcy's education had been using an alias. His real identity was unclear. Multiple people around Marcy raised questions, but no one has ever been publicly named as a suspect. Marcy was described as 5'8", around 140 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She had several tattoos, Chinese symbols on the back of her neck and lower back, and the name Carl tattooed on her upper left breast. She was last seen possibly wearing silver sunglasses, silver stud earrings, and a silver necklace. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her her. Marcy was also a mother of 5 children, a woman with people who loved her, people still waiting for answers. Years have passed, and still there are no answers, no confirmed sightings, no arrest, no closure for the people who love her. Investigators believe foul play may be involved, and some reports suggest Marcy could have traveled to New York after disappearing, but nothing has ever been confirmed. Her family is still left wondering, what happened after she walked away from that motel? Who threatened her? And why has no one been held accountable? Because they know Marcy did not simply disappear. Marcy deserved to be safe. She deserved to raise her children. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Marcy Tokisha Peterson. Share her story, and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Nia Wilson. She was 18 years old. A daughter, a sister, a young woman whose life mattered. She lived in Oakland, California, and on July 22nd, 2018, everything changed. That night, Nia and her older sisters were at the MacArthur BART station in Oakland. They had just gotten off a train, and were preparing to transfer to another platform. It was supposed to be an ordinary evening, a normal train ride home. But according to investigators, while standing on the platform, a man suddenly approached them. Without warning, he attacked. Authorities said the man stabbed Nia and her sister Latifah Wilson. Nia suffered a fatal wound to her neck. Her sister survived. And in a matter of seconds, an 18-year-old girl lost her life in front of witnesses, in front of her family. First responders rushed to help, but Nia was pronounced dead shortly afterward. The attack shocked the Bay Area, and almost immediately, people demanded answers. Surveillance footage from the station helped investigators identify a suspect. Authorities later arrested 27-year-old John Lee Cowell. Investigators revealed Cowell had a lengthy criminal history, including prior violent offenses. And many people began asking the same question. How was someone with that history free to harm anyone else? Nia's death sparked outrage across the country, not only because of the violence, but because so many felt Black girls and women are too often ignored, even in tragedy. But people refused to let Nia become just another headline. Vigils were held. Murals were painted. Her name echoed through protests and train stations across California. Because Nia was more than what happened to her. She was a teenager with a future. A young woman who loved music and fashion. A sister deeply loved by her family. In 2020, John Lee Cowell pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and attempted murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But even with a conviction, it does not erase the loss. It does not give Nia her life back. Her family still carries that pain, still carries her memory, still speaks her name. Because Nia deserved safety. She deserved the chance to grow older. She deserved to live. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Nia Wilson. Share her story. And don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Kiana Cole. She was 27 years old, a daughter, a mother, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Toledo, Ohio, and on June 24th, 2019, everything changed. Before Kiana disappeared, according to reports, she had been staying with her boyfriend. That day, her family says they were unable to reach her, and almost immediately, they knew something was wrong. Because Kiana stayed in contact with the people she loved, and as a mother, they say she would never willingly abandon her children. According to reports, her boyfriend later claimed Kiana left the house on foot, but after that, no one could confirm where she went. That was the last confirmed time anyone heard from her. She never came home. She never contacted her family again. And after that day, she vanished. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And still, there were no answers. No confirmed sightings. No explanation for where she went. No closure for the people who love her. And investigators already knew Kiana had survived violence before. According to reports, she had previously been the victim of an attempted homicide, a shooting she survived years earlier, which made her disappearance even more alarming to the people who loved her, because her family feared someone may have wanted to hurt her again. Despite those concerns, Kiana still vanished without answers, and no one has ever been arrested in connection to her disappearance. Just a young woman gone without explanation. Kiana was described as 5'3", around 140 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a gray jogging suit and black and white tennis shoes. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. Years have passed, and her family is still searching, still hoping, still waiting for answers, because they know Kiana did not simply disappear. Someone knows something. Someone knows what happened after she was last seen that day, and her loved ones are still waiting for the truth. Kiana deserved to be safe. She deserved to raise her children. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name, Kiana Cole. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Divine Tollett. She was 18 years old. A daughter, a sister, a young woman whose life mattered. She lived in Cleveland, Ohio. And on December 8th, 2017, everything changed. That day, Divine was last seen leaving her home on the west side of Cleveland. According to her family, she told loved ones she would be back later, but she never returned home. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw her. She never contacted her family again. She never came back. And after that day, she vanished. Her disappearance immediately worried the people who loved her, because Divine stayed in contact with family regularly. And according to loved ones, she would not have willingly disappeared without a word. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And still, there were no answers. No confirmed sightings. No public suspects. No arrests. Just an 18-year-old girl gone without explanation. Divine was described as 5'4", around 120 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a black coat, gray jogging pants, and black boots. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. And after all these years, her family is still searching, still hoping, still waiting for answers. Because they know Divine did not simply disappear. Someone knows something. Someone knows what happened after she left home that day. And her loved ones are still waiting for the truth. Divine deserved to be safe. She deserved to grow older. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Divine Tollett. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Donita Wilkerson. She was 44 years old, a mother, a daughter, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Evansville, Indiana. And on June 21st, 2020, everything changed. That day, Donita had been staying with family. At some point, she left, saying she would be back soon. Later that evening, surveillance cameras captured Donita at a motel in Evansville. Around 8:16 p.m., she was seen getting into a silver or pewter-colored 2004 Chevy Suburban. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw her. By the next morning, her phone had been shut off, and the people who knew her best immediately knew something was wrong. Because Donita talked to her family constantly, especially her children and her mother. And according to loved ones, she would never willingly disappear without contact. Donita was a mother of 6. She had recently been trying to rebuild her life. Her family says she was preparing to start classes to become a medical assistant. But in the days leading up to her disappearance, Donita reportedly told family members she was afraid. According to relatives, she had been receiving threats connected to an abusive ex-boyfriend and one of his relatives. Her loved ones later shared messages they say frightened her. And then she vanished. Investigators later traced the Suburban traveling west through southern Indiana and into Illinois, but the vehicle itself has never been found. The owner of the SUV was questioned by police, but publicly released details have remained limited. As the investigation continued, searches expanded across multiple states. The FBI eventually joined the case. Donita also had serious medical conditions. She needed medication daily, but she left without it. She was described as 5'3", around 145 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She had multiple tattoos, including praying hands with the name Timmy, a cross on her shoulder, and a heart tattoo on her lower back. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. Years have passed, and still there are no answers. No confirmed sightings, no arrests, no closure for the people who love her. Her family continues to organize searches, continues to hold vigils, continues to fight to keep her story visible, because they know Donita did not simply walk away from her life. Donita deserved to be safe. She deserved to watch her children grow older. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Donita Wilkerson. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Jasmine Michelle Smith. Most people called her Jazzy. She was 22 years old, a daughter, a sister, a young woman whose life mattered. She lived in Warren, Ohio, and on June 5th, 2015, everything changed. That day, Jasmine traveled to Farrell, Pennsylvania, to celebrate her younger sister's high school graduation. Her family says everything seemed normal. They watched her leave the gathering, without any reason to worry. But after that night, no one heard from her again. Days passed, then weeks, and her family became terrified. After nearly 3 weeks without contact, they officially reported her missing. And as investigators searched for answers, another case began making headlines. An 18-year-old woman named Alicia Bell had disappeared from nearby Warren, Ohio. Weeks later, her remains were discovered in a fire pit on the property of a man named James Earl Brooks. Investigators later revealed that Brooks operated a drug operation and admitted to sex trafficking through an escort service. Then Jasmine's family made a disturbing connection. They said Jasmine knew James Brooks, and they feared she may have suffered a similar fate or become a victim of human trafficking. But despite those fears, Jasmine has never been found. No confirmed sightings, no arrests connected to her disappearance, no answers for the people who love her. Jasmine was described as between 5'7" and 5'8", around 145 pounds, with dark hair and brown eyes. She had several tattoos, a heart, an arrow near her eye, the word loyalty tattooed on her throat, stars and swirls on her hip, and a tattoo that read Bubby inside a heart on her upper arm. Details that made her recognizable. Her mother once said, "We just want our baby home." And after all these years, that family is still waiting, still searching, still hoping someone knows something. Because they know Jasmine did not simply disappear. Jasmine deserved to be safe. She deserved to come home. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Jasmine Michelle Smith. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Miranda Connor. She was 30 years old. A mother, a daughter, a woman whose life mattered. She was living in Denver, Colorado, and on February 3rd, 2023, everything changed. That morning, Miranda left her home in the Green Valley Ranch neighborhood. She got into an Uber. Authorities say she was headed to Federal Heights to meet someone. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw her. She never returned home. She never contacted her family again. And after that day, she vanished. Miranda was a mother of 2. According to her family, she constantly stayed in contact with her children and loved ones. Her mother says she would never willingly disappear. The next day, Miranda's phone last pinged near Thornton, Colorado. Later, the phone was found abandoned near the apartment complex where she had last been seen. Investigators searched the area using bloodhounds. One of the dogs reportedly found a piece of purple clothing believed to belong to Miranda. Another tracked her scent near a dumpster in a specific apartment unit. And as time passed, the case became even more concerning. Authorities later stated they were investigating her disappearance as a possible homicide. But despite searches and public pleas, Miranda has still not been found. Miranda was described as 5'6", around 116 pounds, with dark hair and brown eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she had long braids. She was more than a missing persons case. She was a mother, a woman with people who loved her, children still waiting for answers. Her mother has continued speaking publicly about her disappearance, hoping someone will finally come forward. Because after all this time, there are still so many unanswered questions. What happened after Miranda got out of that Uber? Who was she meeting? And why hasn't she come home? Miranda deserved to be safe. She deserved to raise her children. She deserved to still be here. What life mattered? Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Miranda Connor. Her name is Anita Middleton Richardson. She was 24 years old. A daughter, a loved one, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Columbia, South Carolina. And on August 15th, 2003, everything changed. That day, Anita went to a baby shower at her cousin's apartment. The gathering was held at the Churchill Apartments on Fairfield Road. At some point during the party, Anita and her husband, Robert Richardson Jr., got into an argument. According to witnesses, the fight became heated. Upset, Anita left the apartment. That was the last confirmed time her family saw her. She never came back. She never contacted her family again. And after that night, she vanished. At the time, Anita had recently moved into the apartment with her husband. Neighbors later told investigators the couple often argued. Some described the relationship as volatile. Days passed, then weeks, and Anita's family grew more concerned. They said it was unlike her to disappear without contacting anyone. Her sister, Natalie Middleton, eventually filed an official missing persons report in October of 2003. Then investigators discovered something troubling. Anita's teal green 1994 Ford Mustang had been found in St. Mary's, Georgia. And according to reports, her husband's sister was driving it. That discovery changed everything. Investigators began to suspect foul play. Authorities questioned Anita's husband, but no charges were ever filed. He maintained that Anita had simply left him. But Anita's family never believed that. They described the relationship as abusive and controlling. And they say Anita would never willingly leave her family behind. Neighbors also said that after Anita disappeared, many of her belongings were still inside the apartment. Clothes, furniture, food still left in the refrigerator. It did not look like someone preparing to start over. It looked like someone who never planned to leave. Anita was described as 5'5", around 135 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She sometimes used the middle name Quatina and went by the nickname Q. More than 20 years have passed, and still, there are no answers. No arrest, no closure. No explanation for what happened after Anita walked out of that apartment. But her family continues to search, continues to speak her name, continues to hope for justice, because they know Anita did not simply disappear. Anita deserved to be safe. She deserved to come home. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Anita Middleton Richardson. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Carlita Yvette Gentry Lohmeyer. She was 56 years old, a mother, a grandmother, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Detroit, Michigan, and on November 20th, 2009, everything changed. That day, Carlita was home with her mother. At some point, she told her mother she was going to a nearby store. The store was only about 2 blocks away, near Hubble and Finkel. She told her mother she would be right back, but she never returned home. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw Carlita. She never called her family again. She never came back. And after that day, she vanished. Very little information has ever been released publicly about her disappearance. No confirmed suspects, no clear explanation of what happened after she left for the store. Carlita was described as 5'4", around 107 pounds, with gray hair and brown eyes. She had a small scar in the center of her forehead, and her right earlobe was split from an earring being pulled out. She also liked wearing wigs and hairpieces. The day she disappeared, she was wearing a short jacket, blue jeans, and red crocodile boots. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. Carlita was also a widow and a mother. A woman with people who loved her. And then she was gone. Years later, her family would suffer another tragedy. In 2017, Carlita's granddaughter, Mia Patterson, also disappeared from Detroit. Her remains were later found, and her murder remains unsolved. Investigators do not believe the two cases are connected, but for one family, it became 2 devastating losses. 2 women gone, 2 families left grieving, and still so many unanswered questions. No confirmed sightings, no arrest, no closure for the people who love her. More than a decade has passed, and her family is still searching, still hoping, still waiting for answers. Because they know Carlita did not plan to disappear. She was only supposed to be gone a few minutes. Carlita deserved to be safe. She deserved to come home. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Carlita Yvette Gentry Lohmeyer. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Fanya Ray Harris. Most people knew her by the nickname Twink. She was 30 years old, a daughter, a loved one, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Los Angeles, California, and on July 18th, 2003, everything changed. That night, around 10 p.m., Fanya was last seen leaving her home on East 41st Street. She was not alone. Authorities say she left with her ex-boyfriend. The two were reportedly traveling in a white 1994 Plymouth Voyager minivan. California license plate 3HQF733. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw Fanya Harris. She never returned home. She never contacted her family again. And after that night, she vanished. Very little information has ever been released publicly about her disappearance. No known motive. No confirmed timeline after she left. And no public explanation of what may have happened. But investigators did note one thing. Fanya was believed to be in good mental and physical health at the time she disappeared. Fanya was described as 5'2", around 120 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a black linen dress, silver hoop earrings, and brown platform sandals. She was carrying a black purse. She also had several tattoos. R.I.P. Grandma on her forearm, a butterfly on her shoulder, and the words E.D. Assets on her lower back. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. And after all these years, there are still no answers. No confirmed sightings. No arrests. No closure for the people who love her. More than 2 decades have passed, and her family is still left wondering, what happened after she got into that van? Why didn't she come home? Because they know she didn't just disappear. Fanya deserved to be safe. She deserved to be found. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Fanya Ray Harris. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Crystal Anderson. She was 23 years old. A daughter, a mother, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And in July of 1998, everything changed. Crystal disappeared alongside another woman. Her name was Deborah Ann Jesse. She was 38 years old. A mother, a loved one, a woman whose life mattered too. The 2 women were last seen together, and after that, they were gone. Days passed, then weeks, and their families knew something was wrong. Neither woman contacted loved ones again. Neither woman returned home. And just like that, 2 women vanished. At the time, both women were known to spend time in areas connected to drugs and prostitution. And too often, cases like theirs are ignored, dismissed, forgotten. But their lives still mattered. As investigators searched for answers, a man's name surfaced repeatedly. A man named Anthony Palma. Palma was eventually connected to multiple murders involving women in Oklahoma. Women who were vulnerable. Women whose disappearances initially received little attention. Investigators later learned Crystal Anderson and Deborah Jesse had both been killed. Their bodies were recovered in separate rural areas. Their disappearances were no longer missing persons cases. They were homicide investigations. Anthony Palma was later convicted in connection with multiple murders. But even with convictions, it does not erase what happened. 2 women lost their lives. 2 families lost someone they loved. And for years, their stories received very little attention. Crystal was more than a case file. Deborah was more than a headline. They were women with lives, with people who loved them, with futures they deserved to live. They deserved safety. They deserved protection. They deserved more time. Their lives mattered. Their stories matter. Their names matter. Say her name, Crystal Anderson. And say her name, Deborah Ann Jesse. And don't let them be forgotten. Her name is Tamini Jones. She was 19 years old. A mother, a daughter, a young woman whose life mattered. She lived in Mullica Hill, New Jersey, and on April 18th, 2002, everything changed. The night before, Tamini had been in Penns Grove, living her life like any other 19-year-old. At some point, she returned home. A friend later said they spoke with her on the phone around 1 a.m. That was the last confirmed contact anyone had with her. The next day, something wasn't right. Tamini never showed up to pick up her 2-year-old daughter from the babysitter. Her family grew concerned, and when her brother went to her apartment, he found something unsettling. The front door was open, but no one was inside. Her car was still there, her purse, her keys, all of her personal belongings. Everything was left behind, except her. And just like that, she was gone. Tamini had no history of leaving, no reason to disappear. She was a loving mother, working toward her GED, trying to build a better future. And that's why her family knew something was wrong. As time passed, the case took a darker turn. About 6 months later, her disappearance was reclassified from missing person to homicide. Investigators believe she met with foul play. There was someone in her life who raised concerns. A man she had been in a relationship with. A man with a history of violence. He was named a person of interest, but he was never charged. And years passed. No arrest, no answers, no closure. Tamini was described as about 5'6" to 5'7", around 135 to 140 pounds, with dark hair and brown eyes. She had pierced ears and a burn scar on her thigh. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. And today, her family is still waiting, still hoping, still searching for answers, because they know she would never just leave her child behind. Tamini deserved to be safe. She deserved to raise her daughter. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Tamini Jones. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Samantha Elizabeth Barrymore. She was 24 years old. A mother, a daughter, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And on April 6, 2004, everything changed. That night, Samantha was working at the Sugar Bears VIP Club. She was an exotic dancer. In the early morning hours, she finished her shift and she got into a taxi, a Willard Cab Company cab. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw her. She never made it home. She never called her family again. At the time, Samantha didn't have her own car. She depended on rides. So leaving in a cab was normal for her. But what happened after that ride, no one knows. Her family didn't realize she was missing right away. It wasn't until April 8th, when her sister went to pick her up from work, that something felt wrong. By April 10th, she was officially reported missing. When her family went to her apartment, they noticed something strange. Her belongings were still there. Even her dance bag, something she always carried, was left behind. And to them, that meant one thing: she didn't plan to leave. At the time, Samantha was living with her boyfriend, Cedric Bobby Lemon. Their relationship had problems. He told police they had argued that morning. He said she left, claiming she was going to get a newspaper and look for a new place to live. But she never came back. He was questioned. He even took a polygraph, but no charges were ever filed. And years later, he died, taking any answers he may have had with him. Samantha was described as about 5'6", around 115 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. She had a tattoo of her father's name on her thigh, and she was known by the nicknames Pinky and Sunshine. She was also a mother, a woman with a life beyond the headlines. And then she was gone. No confirmed sightings, no arrest, no answers. Investigators now believe, based on the lack of contact, that she may no longer be alive. But her family still searches, still hopes, still waits, because they know she would never just disappear. Samantha deserved to be safe. She deserved to be found. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Samantha Elizabeth Barrymore. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is J. Kiss McNeil, but most people called her Jada. She was 13 years old, a daughter, a sister, a child who deserved to be protected. Jada lived in Pensacola, Florida, and in December of 2015, everything changed. That night, Jada was at home with her sister. They were doing something normal, washing dishes together. At some point, Jada walked outside, just to sit on the front porch. It didn't seem unusual, but she never came back inside. That was the last time her family saw her. Later that night, another relative said they saw her, standing near the road, not far from home. And she wasn't alone. She was with an unidentified man. After that, she was never seen again. And then the timeline gets unclear. Her family says she was reported missing shortly after she disappeared, but law enforcement says something different. They say she wasn't officially reported missing until March of 2016, nearly 3 months later. And that delay raises questions. About 10 days after she vanished, something strange happened. A bag appeared on the family's porch. No one knows who left it there. Inside were clothes believed to be the ones Jada was wearing that night, and multiple cell phones. But even that wasn't immediately given to police. Authorities say they didn't receive that bag until 2 years later. And still, no answers. Jada had been living with her grandmother after the death of her mother, a child already going through loss, who then disappeared. Some believe she may have run away. Others believe something much worse happened. But the truth is, no one knows. There have been no confirmed sightings, no arrest, no clear explanation. Just a 13-year-old girl who walked outside and never came back. Years have passed, and her family is still searching, still hoping, still waiting. Jada deserved to grow up. She deserved to be safe. She deserved to come home. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Jada Kiss Jada McNeil. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten. Her name is Kennedy Walton. She was 26 years old. A daughter, a sister, a woman whose life mattered. She lived in St. Louis, Missouri. And on March 4th, 2022, everything changed. A few days earlier, Kennedy had traveled to Belleville, Illinois. Her mother was recovering from surgery, and Kennedy had been helping care for her younger sisters. On the night of March 3rd, Kennedy left her mother's home around 10:30 p.m. She was driving her mother's white 2007 Chevrolet Tahoe because her own vehicle was not working. Later that night, Kennedy met friends at Show Me's Bar and Grill in St. Charles, Missouri. They were celebrating a birthday. Surveillance footage showed Kennedy eating, drinking, and spending time with friends. Nothing appeared unusual. Then, around 1:10 a.m., Kennedy suddenly got up from her seat, left the bar, and walked alone to the Tahoe parked outside. A friend later found her sitting inside the vehicle, crying. According to reports, Kennedy told the friend she would be fine and that nothing was wrong. Those will become some of the last known words she ever spoke. Around 2 a.m., the gathering ended. A friend later reported seeing Kennedy driving away. At one point, she reportedly sped past their vehicle on the highway. After that, she vanished. She never returned to her home in St. Louis. She never contacted her family again, and no one has publicly reported seeing her since. The next day, her cell phone stopped communicating, and it has never been turned back on. Then 6 days later, the white Tahoe was discovered abandoned in St. Louis, just a few blocks from Kennedy's home. According to reports, a neighbor told investigators they saw a man park the vehicle and walk away. But Kennedy was nowhere to be found. Kennedy was described as 5'10" to 5'11", around 260 to 270 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Her ears were pierced. The night she disappeared, she was wearing a black jacket, a black shirt, and black leggings. Details that made her recognizable. Details that made her, her. Her family has never stopped searching, never stopped asking questions, never stopped hoping for answers, because they know Kennedy would not simply walk away from her life. Someone knows what happened after she left that bar. Someone knows why her vehicle was abandoned. And someone knows where Kennedy is. Kennedy deserved to be safe. She deserved to come home. She deserved to still be here. Her life mattered. Her story matters. Her name matters. Say her name. Kennedy Walton. Share her story and don't let her be forgotten.